right. AEW did a television program the other night in Norfolk, Virginia. I haven't felt so bad for the people of Norfolk since that last hurricane came in off the coast. It was April 30th, so they can't even blame April Fool's Day for this. Are they just giving up and just writing down names now? What's happening here? This is I'm looking at these notes that I made while I was watching this show, and I'm like they are burying everyone in seas of groups, aren't they? 8-man tag, 6-man tag.
That's always been a problem with Tony's booking, yeah.
So they started out the program with the all-star 8-man tag, which is a gimmick that we used to do in Ring of Honor, where for a special DVD that we would shoot in Dayton, Ohio or whatever, you'd have the singles champion, the TV champion, the tag team champion against their top challengers. And it'd be it's a cold match as an attraction for a DVD release, right? So they decided to lead off with the show with Mark Briscoe. None of these people are champions, by the way. Just it's an all-star because they say they're stars. Mark Briscoe, Kevin Knight, Hong Kong Phooey, and Kenny versus Ricochet, the Buckaroos, and their friend O'Sleepy. And after the 7 minutes of entrances, they decided to go another 27 minutes. And random observations I have. Who is the audience for Hong Kong Phooey? He's too much of a little sissy-looking, grinny nerd for a male to like him, but it would seem to be as appealing to the opposite sex as a yeast infection. So who is and a real martial arts fan like a Bruce Lee fan or whatever would think, well, let's look at this little fucking twit. So what's the audience for this guy, Brian?
People who are really into athleticism, and, he could do flips, and he also has his own unique kicks, and that's what it takes. The commentators are yelling at us how big guys don't matter anymore. Weights don't matter anymore. These are the most exciting people. Like, they really made a point to point that out, as ludicrous as it sounded, on commentary here while the fans sat there. And then every now and then they'd break into a chant. You're like, oh, okay, they are into it. And then it would go dead silent again.
Well, you watched a lot more of this thing than I did because I knew what it was going to be like. But I did see that the entrance of the Buckaroos sounded like that somebody had gone and unplugged the crowd microphones. They did, again, as I said, 7 minutes of entrances. And the first thing they did was try to do the arm pump spot, the old Midnight Express arm pump spot. But they didn't know how to set it up. They didn't know the timing of it. They didn't know the execution of it. The guy didn't know how to sell it. And they didn't really know how to properly work the payoff as to not make the whole thing look just like they're fucking doing it all on purpose. But they tried. And I said, I'm going to fast forward to see how long this thing is. And then I started to get fascinated with how long it was going on fast forward, and it still wouldn't be over. Half an hour of Panic at the Playground. I saw somebody on Twitter say, I wonder what Cornette's going to say about last night's circle jerk. That's what I'm sure the children had a wonderful fucking time. And it would probably taken me 3 hours to notate what was wrong with it from a professional wrestling standpoint, and then about as long to tell you. So I'm going to save everybody that time because the people involved, besides Mark Briscoe, wouldn't learn anything anyway. So what are we trying to do here? Trying to lead a horse to water that won't drink.
And it's amazing how many of the things that the big indie / Young Buck fans used to really love just seem old hat at this point. The spot where, I'm giving them credit for it because they did it the most, but other people have done it too. where if it's an 8-man match, one after another, one guy runs in to get a move, and then another guy, like they time it out perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
First time you see that, maybe Abe react to it, it's coin of the realm now. It doesn't stand out, and we'll talk about the ratings later, but I would say if there was any way to drive off your audience right out of the gate, this is the match I'd put on.
Well,
it's tone deaf. It's tone deaf because you have people there who fans will react to. I think more people would be interested in a Ricochet segment or an Omega segment than just a long, endless match with dead silence at times.
With guys just in a group, you can an random 8-man tag team match like this, when they're moving that quick, you can't even fucking keep track visually or mentally who's on whose side at some points. But besides that, again, you've got a couple of stars potentially buried in this. Ricochet, they're trying to do something with. Kenny is one of the more popular baby faces, and for some reason, their crowd still likes the fucking lazy Japanese guy. But they're just covered up and buried, and they're all just doing moves over and over. And it looks like the Ed Sullivan Show with the acrobatic troupe, as you mentioned, when one guy will stand there and the other guy runs and they do the move, and then the other guy runs, they do the move, and it's just ridiculous.
It's more like the guy spinning plates.
But
yeah, again, I think this is where Tony Khan's booking is tone deaf. He takes things and people and he just throws them all together in this mess of a match, which the hardcore fan of AEW who never admitted anything was wrong until well after the fact, even when they were watching it, they may like this kind of match. But this match is a major disconnect. Watching this match and just thinking about the world of WWE, and I'm not really high on WWE right now. It's like it looks so amateur hour. This specific match
if you put it up against any territory wrestling match, it would still look amateur. It looks amateur because it's amateur. It's children playing wrestler and doing funny spots and cool moves so that people will appreciate how good they are at performing this fake shit.
And again, we'll talk about the ratings later, but at some point, I'd really love if someone has time to do a serious look, I think the Young Bucks may be guilty of driving off more fans than anyone else in modern wrestling. Every segment they're on, specific things they were involved in, airing that Punk footage, they drive away audience. And the more you feature them, and the more smug they act, because they've got the money. They've got the money, and they could just seemingly jerk off all over their own faces on TV. But there isn't an audience for it, and they drive away people. And
well, that's the thing, is because even with some of these other fucking clowns, because Kenny's a nice guy and he has pets or whatever, or even Hong Kong Phooey, maybe he does volunteer work somewhere. He's an inoffensive type of person. But everybody's caught up to the fact that the fucking Buckaroos are two little smarmy douchebags. They're they're not likable people. It is not, they're playing themselves on television. They are little smarmy fucking twits. And they've
you can get away with that. You can get away with that when you draw. You can get away with that when you could sell t-shirts.
Well, yes, but that's what I'm saying, is that their fans like these other baby faces, even though they don't really do a good job of getting themselves over to begin with in the ring or whatever. Well, we like them. They're nice guys, but these two, everything's wrong with them, and they're not likable in any personal way either. So that's why it's like, what the fuck? Why are these children allowed to play on this television show to a lot of people? And it's just ridiculous. They're visually ridiculous, and they've made themselves ridiculous, and not in a likable way.
And if you're a long-term viewer of this show, you see them as the walking embodiment of all the problems with AEW.
Yeah, it's come out in the press how many stupid backstage things they've been involved in to run off real talent and etc. So, yeah, now people are holding their nose and turning their head when they come out. But anyway, remember when I said The Hurt Syndicate, at least they haven't been forced to do anything or haven't done anything. I don't know if they were forced at gunpoint. It makes them look stupid. The streak ended. I'm not talking about the interview in the ring, and we'll get to that in a minute, but they have them walk in. Benjamin Shelton, as Hulk Hogan calls him, and Bobby Lashley at MVP, they come in and they've got fake fans standing in the back of the arena like it's a place where 5 random people would just be able to congregate. Nobody's asked them what they're doing there. And they're chanting, "We hurt people, because they're fans of the Hurt Syndicate. So they walk up to him and for no reason they beat him up. But Lashley grabs one guy, he touched him, and the guy launched himself into the air and fucking bounced off a goddamn column. And it's just so fake.
It was unnecessary. It didn't help. It was
unnecessary.
It was cringy, yeah.
They could have walked in, because then they walk off 10 feet from where they've just left these 5 guys laying. And they converse amongst themselves for a second. MVP's trying to say, "Hey, MJF," and Shelton's kind of on his side now too. "Hey, and Lashley's like, "I don't trust." And MVP's like, "Hey, if he ever does anything," I'm paraphrasing, "if he ever does anything to screw us, we'll fuck him up and that'll be it." And they could have done the same thing walking in and just caught that bit of conversation. But I guarantee you that was neither one of their ideas. That was something they probably didn't feel like fucking arguing with the petulant child that they work for about. But it's so fucking phony looking.
Yeah.
Speaking of phony looking, next we had a 6-man tag down from the 8-man tag, with Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Shapoopy against Rhett Titus, Comarato, he's back, and Nobody. I missed his name the first time. I've never seen him before. I don't think we'll ever see him again. I didn't write the name down. Because in 3 minutes, Hobbs beat Nobody. Poor Comarato. I wonder if he's just happy to be wherever he is getting a check from these people. Do you think he's one of the guys? Because he's there from the start. They're still paying him.
Well, they had released
Or do you think
him.
they just book him twice a year?
Didn't we hear like a year ago he was released?
Maybe he just escaped.
Yeah, he had been sick, I think also, but he was one of those guys, again, without even knowing how much talent he has, and we're talking like 5 years in now. But if they had given him the time and attention they gave a Jack Perry, you would have maybe
Danny Garcia.
You would have maybe had a star, because at least he looks like the size of a WWE star.
Well, anyway, after the baby faces triumphed, Dick the Boozer and the Boar Horseman hit the ring and attacked. And they started what I loosely describe as a fight around ringside. While the Stooges were mixing it up with each other, Joe gets Moxley in the entranceway, which was only, again, with their new setup in the smaller buildings, about 50 feet from the ring. He gets him in the rear naked choke. And while Moxley is in the choke, he starts waving his finger and pointing and making faces like he's giving signals for the guys to do something, not even in a working way. It's like, "No, do this now. He's got me in the thing." And at that point, fucking Claudio gave Shapoopy, I believe it was, the drop on the chair like he did to Hook a while back, so Joe would let go of Moxley to run in and help Shapoopy. And then all the heels ran off. And then Joe cut a promo on Moxley, and again, now Joe's a great promo, but now he's trying so hard. Everybody's trying so hard because I think they know, whether they'll admit it to the other side or not, but they know that working with this fucking schlub is death. As a Joe's frothing at the mouth, "I want you one-on-one in a cage." And then they announce it will be Joe and Moxley immediately. Joe and Moxley one-on-one in a cage in 2 weeks on TV for free, and they had a graphic built. So that he's going to beat Samoa Joe because they have a fucking stadium show coming up. And they have nobody that anybody, they got a champion that the fans want to see somebody beat him. Anybody, just get rid of him. But they've got nobody ready to draw a stadium crowd with him or anything approaching that. And now Joe, at least former champion and a credible son of a bitch, and they're going to do that on TV in 2 weeks for free. Can you help me in any way understand?
No, Tony Khan's booking? No, I can't help you understand any of it. The fans' reaction to the Death Riders, again, very telling. It's not the boo, they're the heels. It's the boo, I wish this would end. I wish this would go away. Everyone is sick of the Moxley stuff. From the people who work there, to the fans at home watching it, to the longtime AEW diehards. Everyone wants that to end. The other problem is, what do you move on to? Like, nothing is set up. This Moxley run has been going on a while. Who's set up right now to win the title and for it to help them? I'm not saying they shouldn't get the belt off them. I'm just saying...
Yes, that's what yes. Who? Who would it be?
Darby's on a mountain. So it can't be him. MJF's in the middle of this thing with the Hurt Syndicate. It ain't going to end anytime soon. Swerve is in the wild, I guess. He's involved in various things. It could be Swerve. Ospreay seemed like the pick, but he hasn't done anything with Moxley.
And he's in 6 and 8 mans where he can cartwheel with his friends.
Yeah, it's slim pickings.
Well, anyway, the 9 o'clock hour was an interesting choice. Apparently, they believe Toni Storm's star power alone will draw the fans at 9 o'clock because they booked her with Mio Yamasha from Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. And the bell rang at 9 o'clock. It might as well have been Toni Storm against Ethel, the cashier at Target. Why not book 2 guys down the street on the corner at the top of the hour?
That would pull a number.
Only if you knew them. Then it would fucking sell out.
Well, the first time it would pull a number, yeah.
We've never seen this woman before. Have we? Have we ever seen this woman before?
I don't remember ever seeing her before, but the commentators made it sound like she had done something related to AEW before, but I have no idea who she is.
Well, and they showed some, again, it doesn't matter. You can't fucking just say, okay, we're going to show 30 seconds of fucking footage and we're going to tell you how great she is. You've never seen her before. And she's going to come in and go against the top girl in the company, and it's going to go 10 minutes, and then Toni Storm's going to win. So now Mia Shimada, or whatever the fuck, can go away again. And her face was oddly flat. It looked like she'd been chasing parked cars. But anyway, Storm wins. Then Mercedes comes out to very little reaction and said that she was coming after Toni Storm's belt. And then Jamie Hayter came out and nailed Mercedes one time, and Mercedes ran away. And while that was happening, Toni Storm was laying in the middle of the ring, either having convulsions or doing snow angels. I couldn't tell which. And that was the way that came to an end.
Those are Buddy Landell's favorite kind of women, the snow angels. Yeah, I guess we're going to get Mercedes versus Toni soon. Maybe if Toni would read a copy of Monet Mag, she would have an upper hand, understand what's going on out in the forest or wherever.
Hey, you know what she needs to do? She needs to just get her a one-way ride to the fucking woods.
With her assistant. Yeah, that's right.
With her assistant and her whole team. Send her and her whole team out in the woods.
That's what happened to Camille. Everyone's always wondering what happened to Camille. She went out to the woods with Mercedes, never came back. It's like the Jason Voorhees of the women's division over there.
You know what? Now I understand. When she went out in the woods with Mercedes, that's how Mercedes got back. She resorted to cannibalism. She ate Camille.
You know, it has to be said, and I know I've said it before, Jamie Hayter, it's puzzling how she had a good look and she went away and she came back, and it's the least flattering look on a female wrestler I've ever seen. Just a bright red hair and like
Yeah.
sparkly green outfit. It detracts from how good she is, because I don't know. It's just, it looks like it's out of the 70s, you know, like a twisted McDonald's or something. I don't know what it is, but I don't like it. I don't like it.
Anyway, let's get to the Hurt Syndicate segment, because at least, again, people are interested and there's something going on. And the Hurts came out again, laid the premise out. We've been discussing a fourth member, needs 3 thumbs up. MVP says we're going to try one more time. Calls MJF out. MJF comes out. They weren't on fire for this, but they weren't dead like, everything else. The fans I'm talking about. And, MJF is to Lashley is like, have a good car ride in, bro. And MVP's remember our discussion. MVP gives the thumbs up. Benjamin Shelton gives the thumbs up. And Lashley's milking it. He's got it out there, and they milked it a while because the fans started rumbling. And they're with this. And they were, and he's going back and finally and down and got a reaction. Oh, they thought that was it. And MJF gets hot. He said, you know what, Bob? I think I'm about sick of your shit. And Lashley grabs him. And no, as a matter of fact, he said, what do you want? You want the women, the money, the cars? What would you want for this? What about some Rogaine, you big bald son of a bitch? And that's when Lashley grabbed him. And MVP and Shelton had turned and walked off like, oh, God. But he grabs him and he puts him back in the turnbuckle. And MJF is starting, Montel, and like, Conan. He's screaming Montel, and Lashley's got him trapped there in a corner. And he says, we hurt people. You want to impress me? Hurt somebody. And then the fans start chanting, we hurt people, we hurt people. And Lashley let MJF go, and MJF is trembling and selling. And MVP looks at MJF. He's like, what the fuck? You talk too much. And again, people are interested. I don't know if they ever need to make a decision. They just need to keep coming out and doing this shit. At least it's a break from the children having fun.
Does Tony Khan have a thing against bald people?
Well, they are.
MJF calls him a bald bitch. Ricochet, the big thing the fans yell at him is bald. Imagine if you were a bald fan going to these shows. You'd feel left out or picked upon.
Well, they do look odd. Bald people look odd. Fuck. At least do something about it. Like Mercedes, get a wig. She's got that, alopecia or propecia or whatever she's got. She had to get a wig.
You can read more about that in Monet Mag. Issue
in 41. Monet Mag, how I went bald at 22
okay,
or whatever.
Listen, let's, I don't even know what we're talking about.
Well, we were talking about the Hurt Syndicate, but you know what?
Going to what they're doing here, what do you think? The idea that MJF now has to go hurt someone. Should we see it or should we just see the aftermath?
Oh, boy, that's tough, because if you just see the aftermath, then it's like every other goddamn phony bullshit thing they've done, because they've done it 100 times, where you run up, oh, the guy's laying there, someone's attacked him. And who's he gonna hurt? I guess you can just hurt some random person, but see, if this had been, I know the talent involved is doing the best they can. But it seems like that since the Hurt Syndicate has been there for a while now, they would have actually had some type of rivalry with someone. There would be ill feelings enough that if MJF hurt that person or one of those people, that might make Bobby Lashley smile. But since they've had no rivalry with anybody or meaningful program, because there's nobody that can they have no tag teams. Nobody can stand up to them either physically or in the booking or either. They're not really identified with any enemy. You see what I'm saying? The Hurt Syndicate. There's no ready Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, whatever the fuck. So then if MJF just goes and hurts some random doofus, or even if it's some name, but it's not connected to I guess that proves the point. But there could be so many more things going on here if the talent didn't have to come up with their own shit to avoid being trapped in any of Tony's shit with Tony's friends and their shit. That's the problem. So a lot of these things could be done better, but you're only working with what you can control.
And you got to think once MJF joins the Hurt Syndicate, figuring that he probably will, then at least you can kind of shift the focus to what he said his goal was, to have them help him win back the world title, however long that road is. But like you said, Shelton and Bobby need, whatever they're doing, you could always have Bobby kind of hates MJF, but they need something to do themselves. And who is it going to be?
Yeah.
FTR are now heels, and they're seemingly doing a program with the Rock and Roll Express. No, I don't know who they're actually doing anything with. Maybe Edge when he comes back finally. The Young Bucks ain't going to wrestle the Hurt Syndicate. That ain't going to happen. And that couldn't be a feud. That would be the most ridiculous feud ever. I don't see any free agents out there for Tony to bring in that it would work.
What about Oro Mensah and Javier Bernal?
Those are two released wrestlers? Is that what that is?
Yes, I think that's who they are.
I don't know who they are, so I can't say for sure.
See, that's the point, is they've got just, and honestly, if they add MJF to this group, they're going to kick the shit out of the rest of the company all put together.
Unless you did Hurt Syndicate versus Death Riders. If the whole if the whole thing is MJF trying to get to the world title, and if Moxley's the champion, but again, then you have a weird heel dynamic, even though clearly the Hurt Syndicate and MJF would be cheered over the Death Riders every day of the week.
Well, and they are being cheered already, so what the fuck? What about if MJF gets the plumber and the Hurt Syndicate is there to keep the Stooges away? The people would get the Hurt Syndicate and MJF over as raving baby faces to be the ones to put an end to this madness. The match ain't going to be any good with Moxley in it, regardless of who he's fucking wrestling. So
Moxley would be the problem. Moxley would complain to Tony that he wouldn't want to put over MJF again. I guarantee you that is exactly what would happen.
Oh, I forgot that these people get to pick these things instead of the boss actually telling them what to do. That would be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they could just go out and shoot for it.
Shoot for it?
Because, well, think about this. You got Lashley and Shelton in the corner, so that negates Claudio, Wheeler, Marina, Pac, if he's still fucking in this country or uninjured or whatever his status is. And from what we've seen from Moxley's grappling tournaments in Newport, MJF's got a 50-50 chance. He wrestled in high school.
Yeah, MJF probably has more wrestling experience actually than Moxley.
So let him shoot for it.
Well, we'll see what happens, but I like that idea.
Brian, I'm just thinking that maybe the reason why that MJF is not getting the message is because, MJF likes to listen to his own inner voices. He likes to march to the beat of his own different drummer. He's always preoccupied with himself, and maybe he's not hearing what Bobby Lashley is saying because he's listening to MJF's greatest hits on his Raycon everyday wireless earbuds. Do you think that's a possibility?
No, MJF's greatest hits, what's that?
Well, that's all his great promos. He listens to them over and over.
Oh, not his songs, not his singing.
Well, he probably listened to his singing also. Whether he's probably listening to himself on the Rosie O'Donnell show, or was it the Roseanne Barr show? What Rose show was he on? Rosemary?
It was Rosie O'Donnell. She taped in Manhattan.
Well, they all had shows at one point or another. But folks, Father's Day is coming up. And that's one of the most confusing days in MJF's life, from what I understand. But if you're pretty sure, at least convinced that you know exactly who your father is, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to want to get him a treat for Father's Day. You're going to want to treat Dad to a pair of the everyday earbuds by Raycon because he deserves to relax. He deserves to enjoy his favorite music, his podcast, even his phone calls. And most of all, on Father's Day, he enjoys not having to listen to the nattering and the bitching and the moaning and the whining of your mother, who got her own day just a month before his day. And now she wants to monopolize his day with more of her nah. So get your dad the Raycon Everyday Earbuds, and he's going to stick them in his ears, and he's not going to have to listen to that old hooer for a whole day on Father's Day.
Hey, let's be nice to the listeners and their moms.
Well, some of these mothers are mothers, you know. The Raycon's latest model is better than ever for Dad. It's got a 32-hour battery life. He can stay away from the old nag's fucking voice for 32 hours. Multi-point connectivity lets him pair with 2 devices at once. I bet knowing his wife, that's probably the kinkiest thing he's done in a year or two. And Dad can wave goodbye to that tangled old pair of wired headphones. And then, you know, that's the thing is the only drawback to not having a wire on these things is he's not going to be able to tie Mom's hands so that she can't point at him and nag at him and make him work on Father's Day.
Let's talk specifically about your own ears, your own.
And these earbuds, they come with active noise cancellation, so you can cancel out other people's noise that you don't want to listen to.
That's right.
And they're accessible, dad-friendly price point also, because Raycon start at half the price of the other premium audio brands, and they come in a spectrum of vibrant colors to match your dad's vibe. Maybe his mood is just black, get him black. Or maybe his face is red because of his high blood pressure, get him red. Whatever you want to get your dad. Maybe he's gray because he's starting to develop a deathly pallor in his old age. So get him a gray pair. But if your dad's not liking his Raycons, they offer a 30-day happiness guarantee return policy, no questions asked. And let's say your dad's older and you get him a pair of Raycons, he only makes it another 3 weeks. You can pluck these things out of his ears before they take him to the fucking funeral home and send them back and get your money back.
What's the matter with you? Let's not use this as an example. Let's talk about.
We've got to be practical.
That is, we do, but that is not it, and that is not practical, but practical.
Do you know what Mama Cornette told me to make sure that I had her gold teeth taken out first? But I didn't do that because I didn't want to be unseemly, but it was on her mind. So again, folks, 30-day happiness guarantee return policy, no questions. They're not going to ask, hey, did these come out of a corpse? But go to buyraycon.com/JCE right now, BUYRAYCON.com/JCE. And you're going to get 15% off site-wide. 15%. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. 15% off already inexpensive earbuds. And most of them have never been worn by a dead man. BuyRaycon.com.
All of them are brand new. No corpses involved in any of the process involved here. Let's stress that.
Well, they clean them up first.
No.
They put peroxide on them.
Brand new Raycon earbuds for you. What's that promo code without any more? I don't know what fantasy you're going into over there, but let's help.
Yes, it's buyraycon.com/JCE. 15% off everything in the place.
All right. Well, Raycon is a popular earbud here in the house. We all have a set. I can't speak. You got me thrown off. Let's get back to the
the AEW Dynamite. Oh, the big main event coming up next. They're all main events, ladies and gentlemen, for the Ring of Honor television title. Nick Plain with Nick Plain's mom and Pip Sabian and Christian Cage defended against Jay Lethal. So again, they had Jay Lethal, 3 years now? A guy that could outperform 80% of the roster, could talk, they could have done something with him. He's been mired down and ever since. And now They've got Nick Plain, who at some point in the future might be a marketable wrestling talent for a national television show. But right now, they put him on at 18. He's 19, maybe he's 20. He's a skinny indie guy that can do moves. He's got no body, no look, and no gimmick, except for that moop face, and that he's accompanied by his mother, who's bigger than the entire rest of the group of heels and is apparently presented as some kind of hooer who just threw his dead father over for Christian Cage. And Jay Lethal is a world-class talent that's booked into obscurity and fed to a bland kid in a rotten fucking angle. So that was that. And guess who won?
I think that match was only there so that the Young Bucks wouldn't drive away the most amount of people, because that match popping up out of nowhere and given as much time as it was, that's a ratings disaster. That's a recipe for ratings disaster.
Yes. Well, it was, there was an angle behind it. They did a backstage interview where hey, let's go have a match. Okay. So that was that. And yes, Nick Plain did beat Jay Lethal. You're correct. Because, you know, the old saying, it's not who you know, it's who you blow. That used to be the old saying. But I don't think Nick Plain is blowing anybody. I think that a bunch of these people they're just so friendly. They're just so friendly. How can we not put them on TV? They're just so friendly and deserving. Now, are you ready for the main event, Brian? Proto star Kyle Felcher against Hangnail Adam Page in the Owen Hart tournament match. Can you explain to me what the Proto Star's gimmick is? He's got a bald head. He's coming out wearing reading glasses. He's got a pink leather outfit with feathers on it that looks like it came out of Rip Rogers' closet. What is his gimmick?
His gimmick is that he has looked at everyone else's gimmick and tried to take a little bit from everyone. He's kind of like the Seth Franklin Rollins of the Don Callis family. What is his gimmick? I don't know. He's just wacky. He had long hair, or the bleach blonde hair, and that whiny voice. He's put on a ton of muscle. He looks physically great.
Physically great.
But, it's like a little bit of HBK in the wardrobe. It's a little bit of Randy Orton, a little bit of this. Doesn't really connect yet. He's trying. Yeah. He's trying, though.
And I wonder if they're giving him voice lessons, because we haven't heard him talk in a while. But again, this kid is a perfect example. If there was somewhere, and I'm not talking about NXT, if there was somewhere that this guy, small, regional, could go to be the top guy and have experienced people teaching, explaining, here's how you do it, and he's working at the flea market or he's working at the rec center or whatever, and then you could develop something and then put it on national television when you figured it out. But as it is, it's just all being thrown together as they go, and they think that having 20-minute long fucking matches where they do all kinds of moves is going to get him over, when there's absolutely no rhyme or reason to his booking, his progress in the company, the way that he dresses doesn't match the way that he looks, doesn't match the way that he talks. He has the proto star. He's a prototype of the superstar. I don't know what the fuck. So he's got everything, but I'm afraid, and he needs a manager, because he doesn't have one right now. Don's not a manager. He just goes and does commentary. But I'm afraid by the time he gets out of here that he's going to have a lot of bad habits, and he's going to lost a lot of time that he could have learned a lot of shit. Anyway, they started this thing, and at 10 p.m. Eastern, they had been going 20 fucking minutes. And they went about 2 minutes into the overrun. And I'll give you the finish. Page goes for the buckshot lariat, but as he's flipping over the top, Kyle shoves the referee out of the way. When Page lands, he football kicks Page right in the balls. Whoa! And picks him up and gives him a hell of a looking brain buster. Boom, and covers him, and the referee goes down 1, 2. And fucking the dipshit kicks out. And within 1 minute, the guy that got kicked in the balls and brainbustered did the same move, the buckshot, where he flipped over the top rope and clotheslined him 1, 2, 3. Beat the fucking guy that just kicked him in the balls and brainbustered him like nothing was wrong and nothing had happened. How do you give a guy that finish and expect him not to quit, walk out, give his notice, go, you fight you? Yeah, here's the thing, Brian. He's going to go for the buckshot. You're going to football kick him right in the nuts. And then you're going to pick him up and brainbuster him. And your brainbuster looks great. And he's going to kick out of that. And then he's going to get up and kick your ass and hit his finish 1, 2, 3. That would be the sign for you to just fucking pick your goddamn bag up and walk out to your car. And now the tournament final of the Owen Hart tournament is Paige versus Ospreay. What the fuck? It could have been Ospreay versus Kyle. And you would have had a baby face and a heel. Paige is all over the place. He's convicted. He's conflicted.
I wish he was convicted.
He's there, the bad guy that feels bad about being bad, so he's kind of good, or whatever the fuck they're trying to do with him now. But the point is, it doesn't make sense to have him against Ospreay. Ospreay should win this. Ospreay should win the world title in the stadium show instead of being in 6-man tags with his buddies. And if you'd have had this match and had Kyle beat Paige here with the football kick to the nuts and the brainbuster, then it don't hurt Paige, and he's pretty much useless at this point anyway. They've deluded themselves into thinking that Paige is still over when he wasn't over to begin with. But Kyle could have beaten Paige with that finish and then go and put Ospreay over in the goddamn finals, and an Ospreay is set. Instead, Paige is stale and who cares? But he just beat the kid that's a lot newer and a lot more athletic. And this kid has to get beat now he has to get beat by Ospreay. And Ospreay better beat Paige clean instead of kicking him in the nuts or whatever. So Paige traded getting fucked in the semifinal by a heel to get beaten clean by another babyface in the finals, which again is something that if you gave that option to any other babyface in history, they'd say, I'll be fucked in the semifinals or I'll give my notice.
What if he's going over in the finals?
Well, then they're complete idiots. And in that case, then Ospreay needs to quit for fucking booking malfeasance. Because if you in any way pick Paige over Ospreay at this point in time in this company, you're a goddamn raving idiot. A babbling fool.
Well, that was another babbling episode of AEW Dynamite. Another tournament, another Dynamite. All right, Jim, well, let's go to the ratings this week for another banger of an episode of AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite on TBS, Wednesday, April 30th, 2025, 8 to 10:05 p.m. On average, watched by 629,000 viewers.
So they're back up from their miserable 521 last week to the miserable 620 something they've been doing for the past few months.
Progress, I guess is what we would call that. Dynamite was number 5 for the night in the key demo on cable behind the NBA, the NHL, and Jesse Waters on Fox News. But the positives, 21% up from last week at 521, and 5% on the trailing 4-week average of 600,000 viewers.
Good Lord.
Let's go to the quarterly hours. These were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. Kenny Omega, Kevin Knight, Mark Briscoe, and Speedball Mike Bailey versus The Elite and Ricochet with picture-in-picture 727,000 viewers.
That's again, they've killed the Big Bang Theory. That's a lot less than they used to start with, but I think is it bigger than last week? Last week's was
believe so.
exceptionally bad across.
That's right.
So they've got a ways to go here to fall for their average.
We go to quarter two, the continuation of that big superstar 8-man tag match with picture-in-picture, 604,000 viewers.
Jesus Christ, 123,000 people in the middle of that thing. It wasn't like there was a natural spot where you said, okay, well, one thing's finished. Yeah, I can believe it.
We go to quarter three, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m., the finale of the 8-man tag match, the Hurt Syndicate backstage, an ad break, and the Ops versus Miles Hawkins, Nick Camarado, and Rhett Titus, and the post-match with the Death Riders, 625,000 viewers.
They got 21,000 back of the 123,000 that they ran off.
We go now to quarter four, 8:45 to 9 p.m., the Samoa Joe Live promo, Mercedes Moné backstage. Oh, it's an interview. It's a backstage interview, excuse me. An ad break, the Patriarchy's backstage angle, and the start of Tony Storm versus Miyu Yamishita. Or is it like Takeshita? Well, either way,
I don't know.
616,000 viewers.
So they're back down another 9,000, but they almost got to come up somewhere to make their average, don't they?
You would think. We go to the big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m. The continuation of Yamashita versus Storm with picture-in-picture. The post-match with Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter. The Don Callis family backstage promo. And MVP's live promo. 639,000 viewers.
So the top of the hour, even with what was her name? Gladys Kravitz against Tony Storm, they got 23,000 people back. I guess at this level, that's something.
We go now to quarter six, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. The Hurt Syndicate MJF live angle, a recap, and the start of Nick Wayne versus Jay Lethal through an ad break. 670,000 viewers.
Oh.
Also, the biggest jump in the key demo for this segment went from 211 to 229, not counting the overrun. That was the biggest jump in the show.
And the Hurt Syndicate and MJF.
That's right.
People are actually interested in what's going to go on. They see them. They're simple people. They see them. They click.
Well, we go now to quarters.
And by the way, when is the last time that quarter six on this program was within 60,000 viewers of the starting point? Almost never. They're finding the Hurt Syndicate wherever they put them.
We go now to quarter seven, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The continuation of Nick Wayne versus Jay Lethal, the post-match with the Patriarchy, and the start of Adam Page versus Kyle Fletcher with picture-in-picture, 581,000 viewers.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Now we come back to reality. That's 89,000 people. So, all right, it's over with, and here comes the kids. So,
well, we now have quarter eight. I remind you, we have a 5-minute overrun, 9:45 to 10 p.m. The continuation of Page versus Fletcher with picture-in-picture, 565,000 viewers. 5-minute overrun. Continuation of the match and the post-match, 634,000.
oof. Now, wait a minute. What? I wonder what
was on
what
after.
was the difference?
That's what
Well, I know what was on after because I recorded it. It was a rerun of Modern Family. It wasn't like the hockey game that they had to end on time for last week or whenever. But Modern Family reruns have not been. The overrun has been losing instead of gaining. So that's odd. But it couldn't have been this match because it was only 2 minutes. But many people wouldn't have had time to suddenly hear what was going on and get there before it was over. So that's an aberration. But 727 to 565. So that would be they lost 162,000 people, which for them is not unusual. So this was kind of an ordinary show.
Well, there it is, another Dynamite, a lack of star power, and after that, Jim, some are ready for a good night's sleep.
A good nap. A good nap at least. Sleep it off. It's like a horrible hangover when you watch this show. You want to sleep it off. And Brian, I can't believe my eyes here. I can't believe what I'm seeing. You know, Memorial Day is coming up. That's when you go out to the cemetery, dig up some of your friends and relatives, and have a beer with them. And on Memorial Day, they have a lot of sales, right? Well, apparently, our friends at Helix Sleep are having a Memorial Day sale. And because they like the listeners of the Jim Cornette Experience, you're getting early access to it. Not you, Brian, as in the singular you, but you out there in the cult of Cornette, as in the royal group you. And if you've ever had a royal group you know that those can be fun. 27% off site-wide and a free bedding bundle, which is a sheet set and a mattress protector with any Luxe mattress order or Elite mattress order between May 1st and May the 11th. Just for our folk. Can you believe that? 27% and a free bedding bundle.
I can believe it. Helix are good people. They've been with us a long time. We both have Helix mattresses in our house. In fact, I probably have to get another one soon. We have a request from one of the little ones here for a new bed. We'll probably go to Helix.
Are those kids wanting new beds again?
Please, please don't start picking on the kids again.
You built those bunk beds for them. With that not only do they have a place to sleep, but you can press that button and they just stack up one on top of another so the little kids can't get out and wander around at night.
Let's not invent things that aren't there. Let's talk about things that are there, like good mattresses that are customized for you. You fill out the sleep survey. Tell them about it, Jim.
Well, that's because we talk about things that have not been invented yet because we want them to be invented. That's how you make progress. That's how Helix has come up with all of these incredible mattresses that they have and that they feature on their website. If you sleep hot, you want to be cooled down, or vice versa. If you like a firm mattress or a soft mattress, if you suffer from snoring or back pain, sleep apnea, whatever the case, you know, some of these people, they lose they stop breathing is what they doing, that have the sleep apnea. They stop breathing multiple times overnight. And that can be related not only to your position, but also to what you're sleeping on. They found that they did a scientific survey, Brian, and most people who sleep out on the ground without a mattress snore and have sleep apnea.
Who did this? Who did this survey?
They did a survey of people, homeless people sleeping out in the park.
Who did? Who did the survey?
The cops.
The cops?
They'd go up to the homeless people and they'd kick them in the ribs and they'd say, "Hey, you asleep?" Every single time they said no.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's focus on indoors, inside.
Well, that's why you need a mattress. If you can actually take your Helix mattress out in the backyard, you can do that if it's a free country. As a matter of fact, take it in your neighbor's backyard because he won't mind.
Stay on your property.
Every once in a while, he borrows some sugar from you. Take your mattress out in his backyard and have a camp out.
Stay indoors, inside, on your property, in your house, with a fine night's sleep. A night's sleep, not a finite sleep. A fine night sleep with Helix.
Well, it can be finite. Sooner or later, it's going to be over. They did another survey. 96% of the people that 96% of the people that sleep on Helix sleep mattresses wake up the next morning. That is a statistic. You can't argue with science.
I can argue with wherever you derive this from, which I think is nowhere.
Over at the old folks' home.
What?
All the people from 94 to 98 years old. And when they're sleeping on a Helix mattress, 96% of them wake up the next morning, and you will too, folks. Chances are.
Was this survey also conducted by the cops?
Well, when there was an old person that was trying to sell their pain medication, and they frown on that, so they did an undercover bust. Yeah, they got Granny Fanny too. That's what the junkies called her, Granny Fanny. But anyway, folks, and as a matter of fact, they have some Helix mattresses over there that are being sold as now that they've been used as evidence in crime trial.
No crime. There's no crime trial.
You can go to helixsleep.com and find new ones that haven't been
brand new
involved in drug busts at old folks' homes.
All mattresses are brand new just for you. That's the Helix promise.
Well, they make them for anybody, but they'll sell them to you, but they didn't make it custom for you. Don't try to false advertise. But you're going to feel like they did because it's going to be the best one you ever had. And you're going to get a hell of a deal on it because did we mention for Memorial Day, 27% off site-wide and a free bedding bundle with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. All you got to do, go to helixsleep.com/JCE for early access to the Memorial Day festivities. And that's what's going to happen there. And so, again, it's Mother's Day is coming up. Father's Day is coming up. Maybe mom and pop want to share a mattress. And then, that happened. It happened at least once if they're your mother and father. And if you're twins, I don't know how many times that takes. But if you want mom to get drilled for Mother's Day or dad to get laid for Father's Day.
Ladies and gentlemen, Helix Sleep, a fine mattress for the entire family, no matter who you are.
Well, you don't want the kids in the room at the time.
Let's talk about the time to make a mattress decision and the time to not add any more details that you have created. Helix Sleep, Jim, tell them.
The time is now. helixsleep.com/JCE. 27% off and free bedding bundle, and all the details are there. Just go there now.
Please go there. They're our friends. They're good people. Helix Sleep!